I'm done.
Well, so
It is 5:30.
okay. All right, we will call the September Board of Trustees meeting to order and welcome all of you. We're hearing something.
Once you move the speaker. Yeah. Get feedback internally there. Yeah, that one.
Are we good to go? All right, we were getting some feedback in here, hearing ourselves talk.
One last thing, you might want to switch your cameras so you can come back. There you
I can still hear myself.
No, you just need, you're up still a couple percent on your speaker.
Just click the speaker.
We're doing it now.
All of them.
All.
That's the other way.
Okay, are we set now? Sorry for that little delay, but yeah, it's hard to say it and then hear it back. So, well, welcome everybody. I hope that you're enjoying our first day of fall. The weather cooperated, and so nice to have the cooler weather. If you like the hot weather, well, you've got a little while before we maybe see that. Who knows? Maybe it'll be next week.
Saturday.
Saturday. All righty. So we'll call the meeting to order. First, the approval of the agenda. We did have a couple of things that we as board have corrected, but we do want to call attention that there were a couple of things.
On the initial agenda that we sent out on the August meeting minutes, Patty's name was inadvertently left off. So on the agenda, on the minutes, meeting minutes that you have in front of you, it's correct. And on the agenda on page 21 in the Sharp Medical Incorporated proposal for Phillips Pulsar C-arm, the company had the date model as 2007. It's a 2011 model. So no other information quote changed. And we replaced the correct quote in your agenda at your table. So your agenda, your table has all the correct.
Okay, so I will entertain a motion to accept the agenda as it has been noted and corrected. Your second.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Do we have any citizens' comments, Lisa?
We have no comment.
All right, so now introduction of some new employees. We always enjoy this time to get to meet the people that are working in state.
Allison, you want to start us off?
I sure will. I would like to introduce our newest addition to the nursing program, a year 2 nursing program at Eldon campus. Tara is on Zoom with us. Hello, Tara, welcome.
Hi.
Tara has taken on the role of coordinator for the year 2 nursing program at our Eldon campus. And Tara is a graduate of our State Fair Community College associate's degree program and went on and got her bachelor's. And we're really excited to have her as part of our team.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Oh, thank you guys. It's nice meeting you.
I'm going to step in for Dr. Merge and Daniel. Our next two aren't here tonight, but I want to go over them anyway. We've got Whitney Hamilton, who is our new trio coordinator, and Lauren Foster, who is our new navigator in student services. So they can make it tonight.
Justin, would you like to introduce?
Yep. We've got Earl Scroggins, who's been added to our team. He is a local Sedalia gentleman and has 30 plus years of carpentry experience. He has joined as a maintenance technician. If you're in this building regularly, he is downstairs working on creating our testing center in Hopkins on the lower level in 714. And he's been at that quite a bit, and there's a lot of progress that's already been made here just this first week that they've been at that. So it's a great addition to the team for it.
Welcome. Is that everybody?
And then I just did have another one, but I think Randy is unable to be here tonight. But Randy Turley is our maintenance tech too that we recently added to.
Yes, Randy is actually on a bus right now, taking the baseball team to Trenton. They may be actually on their way back. So and we'll have some more next month.
Any stories on Randy, I could give you a few. We were in high school together, so,
I'm still working.
he's still working on that. You're right. All right, so next on the agenda is the approval of the minutes for the August 23rd, 2022 board meeting. As published, and again, there was that correction about with my name not being there. So I would entertain a motion to accept that as minutes.
Motion approved.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, the warrants for the August 2022, Pete.
So for the month of August 2022, the college had disbursements of $3,351,499. Of that, $2,258,252 was in accounts payable. It had a payment to Rose for $22,183 for the Owen Howard Center. Payroll of $802,014. The income payroll tax on that of $7. Financial aid refunds of $13,278. The credit card process 20 and service charges. Total disbursements of $1.35 million.
Any questions for Keith? Entertain a motion to accept that action.
Motion approved.
I'll second it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, institutional reports.
All right. There was a request from the board to have some institutional reports from our city campus directors, and the first to volunteer for the report was Bethany Piper she's the director of our Boonville campus. And so she's joining us from Boonville. I think she's at the casino there. No, she's. Bethany?
You need to bring up the volume and mute our mic.
Yes.
Let me know whenever you're ready. Can you hear me okay? Just testing my audio to see if you guys can hear me okay. Is that good? Okay. I would say volunteer was, I don't know that I volunteered, Dr. Bates, but thank you for recommending that I present. As Dr. Bates said, I'm Bethany Pfeiffer. I am the director for the Boonville campus. Oh, no. Can't hear me. Can you hear me now? Oh, you can't hear me now? Okay, all right, I'll take the thumbs up. Thank you, Brad. So I'm guessing you didn't catch anything I said. I sort of volunteered for this. I think that more voluntold is more appropriate. I am Bethany Pfeiffer. I'm the director of the Boonville campus, and I've been here since 2018. Still enjoying it, still here. I know you all have had a long meeting already, so I just want to share my appreciation for all of you, for everything you've done for the college and our students. I truly enjoy what I do. Helping students has always been my passion, so I'm happy to get to do that every day, but I don't want to take up too much of your time. So first, I'd like to share some general extended campus updates, and then I'll follow with some Boonville specific projects, and then finish with 2 short testimonials. All right, so I know COVID was tough on everyone. One awesome thing, though, that came out of it was more collaboration between extended campuses regarding Zoom classes. So extended campus directors, we meet weekly, and usually it's more frequently around schedule building time so that we can maximize course options for students across all campuses. This helps us accommodate those students who maybe have a difficult work schedule and other responsibilities at home, but need to learn from a live instructor. That's how they learn best. So we do our best to offer both daytime and evening courses, as well as different class lengths. So whether that's one night a week for 3 hours for 8 weeks, or a more traditional format of 50-minute class that meets a few times a week for 16 or 12 weeks. Dara Bigler, the Clinton campus director, and I, we lead Zoom training for all instructors across all campuses so that we can improve instruction and create a more centralized tracking system for those approved to teach via Zoom. We've enjoyed it so much that we are presenting our process to Ncca in November. That was also a subtle nudge from Dr. Bates, so thank you. Another way that extended campuses have stepped up is through supporting our admissions and dual credit team with their processes and visiting our respective area high schools. When they're down a person or two, it really spreads the student service office thin. So we're happy to step in and assist wherever we can. Everything from financial aid and college connection presentations to helping students apply for admission and scholarships. We enjoy being an extension of the Sedalia campus because it truly shows our communities that we have an active presence throughout our 14 county service region. Last summer, even extended campus teams were added to the admissions and student success phone lines, so it would kick out to others when no one else was available to answer the phone in Sedalia. I mean, you guys have tours and college visits and stuff going on, so we thought it was really important to keep that customer service and make it so that that our callers could reach a live person during normal business hours. People notice and appreciate that small town customer service and getting an answer quickly. All employers I know are feeling the crunch right now of turnover and being short-staffed, State Fair included. I think one of our best resources at State Fair is our customer service. Many students have told me they've tried to get help while attending other institutions. I won't name them, but they may be our competitors. And then when they transfer to State Fair and we help them through every step, we answer every question they have, they are just really put at ease and are like reassured of why they transferred and decided to come to State Fair and get their degree with us. So if I don't know the answer or my team doesn't know the answer, it's always been our strategy to do our best to find out rather than just transferring someone down a long list of calls and eventually get to a voicemail. So we do our best to answer the student or the parent, whoever's calling, to just really make sure that our customer service is top notch. Some of the Boonville specific projects that we've been working on. One is with Brent Hampy and Amy Jackson regarding the Commercial Driving Academy. With our local economic developers' help, we reached out to area trucking companies to identify potential training space, a safe parking space for the truck, as well as potential instructors from these companies. So this could be a great opportunity to collaborate with local industry and increase the number of CDL graduates for mid-Missouri. I know that the Sedalia Commercial Driving Academy has a wait list. So I know that if with more instructors, more trucks, we can definitely expand that and increase the number of graduates to help local industry. The last item I wanted to share is the opportunity with our vacant 4th floor. So currently we are in Science Hall in the historic Kemper campus. We take up 3 floors, and then on our 4th floor, it's vacant, unfinished. We're not paying for this space. It's still owned by the city, but they have always been supportive of our expansion efforts and talks that I've had with them. So I had Daniel So do a virtual tour. He's done that throughout all the campuses, but I specifically wanted him to do our 4th floor so that I could share it with our local economic developer, Gigi, who you'll meet in a minute, so that she could showcase that to area entrepreneurs, area investors that she's meeting with on a regular basis to see if there's any interest there, especially if it would partner or coincide with some of our mission and statements that we're pushing at State Fair. So my goal over the next year is to continue to look at grant opportunities and expand operations to this 4th floor to support all of State Fair in this space, however I can. So now I'm going to share a quick video. I am no videographer, so bear with me. Let's see. Here's the sound.
My name is Gigi Quinlan McAravey. I'm the economic developer for Cooper County and Boonville. I just want to tell you how important State Fair Community College is to our community. Just to give you an example, when Kawasaki came to Boonville, I introduced them to State Fair Community College, and we had a meeting right here in this room. And in that meeting, so many things were discussed, different things that Kawasaki was needing and training and certifications, and State Fair Community College's team of leaders and their collaborative effort shared with Kawasaki how they can make those happen. It was so inspirational to hear that. They said they have never had a college do so much or offer so much. What was really important to Kawasaki is that they were local here in Boonville and they didn't have to drive. Growing this satellites facility in our community is going to be instrumental to not only Kawasaki but to other corporations like Caterpillar, CM&G, the Isle of Capri, and we just were announced we have a 103-acre industrial site. So to our new partners that do come along in that industrial site. So we are looking forward to growing our community and growing State Fair on this campus. And I thank you guys so much for being here and being part of our community.
And next I'll have Boonville student Alexa share how the Boonville campus has impacted her.
I'm Alexa Martin. I am a student from State Fair Community College in Boonville, Missouri. I chose the campus because it's close to where I live. It's a smaller campus than so many larger ones I could have chosen. It's got flexible hours. The staff are easy to get a hold of when I need help. I heard about the campus, the college, from people in my high school and my mom. And after touring this place, I knew it was a good choice. If it wasn't here, it would not be as easy as it would be coming here. I might not even have chosen State Fair. I probably would have had a bigger college.
So that's just a brief, I don't know, synopsis of some of the stuff we're doing at the Boonville campus. And I felt like you didn't want to just hear it all from me. So any questions? I can't hear you guys. Lisa, check your mic.
Where do you draw your students from?
So we've got New Franklin and Fayette across the river. Technically, it's not our territory, but they were close enough to them. And then obviously Boonville, Pilot Grove, Bunston, Blackwater, and a little bit even from Columbia, surprisingly. I do have students when they get here or they hear us over the phone, they just enjoy how much we help them, that they are willing to drive from Columbia.
And what type of programs, what's the scope of programming that's offered at Boonville?
Yeah, so we offer the Associate Arts degree, all the core 42 general education courses that students would need to transfer. And then we've got the 1 year or 2 semester medical assisting program. And then we also offer the prereqs for the health science program. So anatomy, physiology, English and math. And then students usually have to either Zoom or go to Sedalia for their chemistry, physics, and microbiology, which is common for the extended campuses based on those courses.
Is there something like the Board of Trustees could do to help support the Boonville campus?
Yes, I think that's kind of my dream wish, I guess. If you guys would be open to coming to the Boonville campus, I think seeing it for yourself, seeing the historic building and campus that ties in with the other buildings, I think that might ignite some ideas. Seeing our 4th floor, it's just every time I show it to someone, they are so excited about it, but it really does need help with grant funding. I don't think we could just do that within our budget unless there was a specific program.
Your idea for the 4th floor is like incubator space?
That is even what the city said whenever I first was hired on. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Bethany's a real rock star, and let's
Thank you.
Thank you, Bethany. You set the bar pretty high for those other extended campuses. Good job.
Happy to. Thanks.
All right, we started off today with a work session on to lay the foundation for our budget and planning process for the year. And we're going to conclude it today. That part of our work is concluded with a discussion on budget assumptions. And so Keith, you have some final information to share with us, and then we're gonna, I promise you, we're gonna quit talking and let you all talk.
Really, this is to foster discussion, not so much budget assumptions as some items that are in consideration for the budget next year from a recurring standpoint, not a capital budget, but true operational recurring budget. Few things we know are happening, and few things we need to be thinking about. For instance, on the packet at page 17 of the original presentation we're doing has some costs and some items. The Surgical Tech program in Clinton, one of our senior campuses, had been funded by a Go Gears grant through COVID relief funds. That will be gone in this year. So the $230,000 expense for the faculty and staff, and that program will effectively be absorbed into our operating budget. Obviously, the reason we had the grant first is they were getting geared up this year and getting ready to go. So next year they'll be having the students, and that will help offset that. But that will come into the budget. And the behavioral health program is growing. They'll have some additional students, and they'll need about $100,000 in additional faculty and staff. And we're looking at a new program in general assistance for next year. Program much akin to the medical assisting, but has shown tremendous promise. We're looking at, but it will require about $230,000. It next year probably would not have as many students as the first year, but would look going down. So as we will be looking at obviously the full revenue versus expense, but those are things we're looking at. A few other things we know are coming around. We're buying some land next door, if you haven't heard. And we're looking at probably having a college working farm on that to go along with our agricultural program. And while we won't have the program running next year, we'll have to be bringing the folks on board, some of the other items on board to get that to the program developed so we get it ready for when we have students here. I'm not sure what that cost will be. There'll be some cost to that should we elect to do that. You may have, we have looked at Jefferson City as potentially expanding there. We are in this, as you may know, we're in discussions with Lincoln University to work cooperatively with them in that effort to assist them with some of their needs and then be able to service not only their students, our potential students, but broader within Jefferson City. That also require again some investment, understanding what that means. Should we make that authority? Benton County, we are looking at improving and adding to our presence in Benton County. We are putting a person down there, probably have space down there, looking at what we need to do to make Benton County a much more integrated in with the Sedalia campus and other things here. So we can talk about that. Technical education, we just built obviously a brand new building. We have some programs there. We're refurbishing, we're renovating the existing building, and adding in some programs there. We have a number of grant funds to fill it out, but also with new program, again, come new instructors, new staff, and what programs go in there. So that's going to be a discussion before as to how robust do we want to make those programs. Branding and marketing. A lot of what we're looking at this year is how do we increase our public presence, what people know about us, they hear about us. If you don't tell people who you are and what you do, how do you expect them to know who you are and what you do, particularly in some of the extended campus areas? Yeah, we need to make sure that we understand that not only do we have our Sedalia and the surrounding areas, but the extended campus as well. How do we go about creating the branding we want? We've done a lot of work on it this summer. We're looking at more, but taking that message out and making sure it's getting to the right audience, the right time, right impact, doing that, contacts in campuses, and then any other thing. So this is more just a setup of what you had. I think now what I'd like to do is turn it back to Dr. Bates and really have a discussion amongst you all about your thoughts on priorities for where State Fair needs to be focusing our attention, focusing our efforts, and making sure that we're doing the right things for the right people at the right time.
All right, so this is the discussion part of the board meeting. And so we ask you to think about those priorities We're not expecting dollar numbers attached to it or things, but what are the priorities of the board? So we can take those priorities into account as we flesh out the budget proposals and we'll be prepared to bring draft budgets to you as part of the process.
As we've gone through our personnel reports, it's become apparent that we need to increase our compensation for our employees, that retention, hiring and retention of employees. And I think that we need to prioritize in what we're paying our employees so that we can attract and retain staff. That I think that would be I think my personal opinion is that's probably priority one. Jefferson City is the largest community in our service area, largest single city. And I think if you have a service area, you've got to be present where your highest population is. And the lake is secondary. It is second areas. So I think Jefferson City expansion, the work with Lincoln is will be important. And also I think targeted marketing. Just being at the lake, Patty and I had the opportunity to accompany Dr. Bates to a meeting at the lake last week, and looking at some of the numbers that are coming out of the lake, I know that just seems to be an area where we need to do some targeted marketing, and our marketing in general. I think we need to do. I would like to see, and I know Brad and I had a little talk in the interim while the meal was going on this afternoon. So he's working on targeted marketing, but I think that's something that we need to invest in.
I'll echo Richard's concerns about increasing compensation, providing our employees with the better morale. I think that plays a factor into it. I think we probably need to look at strategic wise how we need to make more of a presence in their lives. I haven't heard much about how involved we are with the high school, so I don't know if the plan and the strategic goal has been asked for that. So do we need to increase our presence in the surrounding high schools so we can better that enrollment and that transfer from high schools to state fair? So I think that's probably an area that we need to look at. Recruiting, there you go. If our staff and faculty morale is low, that makes me a little concerned about maybe our students. Are their morale low as well? So do we need to focus on any issues with student services? How do we need to improve and expand their reach, and what tools and resources can we provide for them to make sure that they're doing their job to the best of their ability?
I would go with both what Richard and Tom said. You know, we can target market, we can do we put billboards on I-70. I think we have one on I-70. If we don't have the faculty and the staff to properly educate them and prepare them for the real world, they're not going to come here. They're going to go elsewhere. And I think that's what that young lady from Louisville said. She found a different reason as far as why she would look elsewhere, but they have reason to look elsewhere. And in turn, the priority of this college has to be with those who provide those services. And with those services will bring these students. That's said, you have to throw your good money at viable sources as far as kind of retaining, pulling it back in and recouping that. If we're able to actually get established commitment and work toward the progress of in Jefferson City, that would be huge. I would have to say for our college, and in turn, we need more trained faculty and staff that provide those services. They too have options. So I concur with what you guys are saying.
We bring up maybe as specific as looking at areas for childcare for students and staff, or we have a strong relationship with Whiteman already, but I did a tour of UCM a couple months back, and they had a military service and veteran support center where that was specifically for veterans and those enlisted to get the training and the tutoring they need for their classes, but also provide them assistance of how do we transfer into the college, how do we move forward with further education. So I think just providing those avenues of assistance in any way we can, I think is going to be a benefit for both staff and students and recruiting and retention.
So one of the things we've talked about is residence halls. So I'm not real sure where that is at this point. But we know that, we're having to be off campus to house some of our students. So certainly something that needs to be considered. The other thing, and I'm not real sure with the learning force, if that's something within our budget. And I heard her mention about trucking, and I just know we're all affected by the trucking industry and how there aren't enough drivers to get the trucks where they need to go. So I'm not real sure, again, whether that's something that is in our budget or learning force is where they have to provide that, but I'm sure that that's where that program operates. So just making sure, of course, being a farmer's wife, the expenses that goes with trucking is not cheap. So, there has to be then those funds that can help fix that truck and keep all that. So I think that's one of the things, because I know that, we hear that all the time. We don't have enough truck drivers to get all of the things that we need to where they need to go.
Yeah, Pat's called about getting you trained.
He's tried.
No, I echo that and go specific, not just repairs needed for our truck, because what's the mileage on our truck? I mean, I've heard that maybe it's roughly 600,000 miles on our truck. I don't know. I know they can last up close to 1 million, but maybe we look at providing a second truck or and that just increase the number of enrollments and opportunities we have as well.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's a very good point.
Let me address the capital expenditures. Patty mentioned residence hall. We purposely left the capital expenditures off this discussion. We plan to have a discussion about that. Keith has that, but just we didn't have enough time to get into it. It's a little bit different. We're talking about the reoccurring budget, and those capital expenditures are part of, it could be recurring, but they're, come from a different bucket. So, but we'll talk about that with those. Who else?
So my thoughts, as I looked at these strategic plan priorities, number one, ensure exemplary teaching and learning. And so that's all about our staff and our faculty and all about our students. And so I know that's been said already, but I'll just say it again, that's a priority. And I think too, we can come up with a lot of ideas and there's nothing wrong with that, but let's also make sure we're asking, what do you need?
Yeah.
What would you like? How can we help you? And whether, however we're doing that, they'll give us the best ideas, I think.
With employees.
Yes, and I think students as well, and we are, we're trying all the time, we're always doing those kind of things, but let's just keep on.
In the material we did in the work session, I think there was a comment that an employee salary compensation committee was in progress. And so I don't know what they're doing, or if they would take, if we just put a general priority, said that and told Keith that this is a priority. If that compensation committee, if that would fit into the work they're already doing.
Yeah, that's the idea, Richard. And
Would
there are
Rach-
several groups working on those kind of
Would
things.
Rachel be able to speak to that?
Right now? Yeah, sure.
So I think you're referring, Richard, we have what we call an Equitable Wages Subcommittee that's an offshoot from our HR Advisory Committee. We elected last year to start first reviewing the faculty because we're still identifying, we had a survey done in the spring. We actually just reconvened at our first meeting after reconvening yesterday. And that group is made up of faculty right now to identify where the issues are that we're seeing with faculty, not necessarily the amount. We don't know that yet.
Okay.
That's part, we're getting ready to have targeted small group sessions to try, people don't tend to talk in big groups. So we're hoping that with faculty leading the conversations, we're going to get them talking about really what are your concerns. We know that the summer differential was a big deal when that went away. But we plan on going into each of those sessions with some historical data. There was concerns about whether they were being placed accurately when they first came in. We did an audit to make sure that's the case. So there's lots of different things that we want to make sure that they have the information and that we're being transparent, and then really get to the bottom of it. Is that what did you just need to know this information, or is there really a concern with how you're paid? And then the goal is we may decide, they may put forward a recommendation to revise how faculty are paid. So that's the how, we have the faculty salary schedule. And we're hoping to have some sort of recommendation by the end of the year from that group. And that could factor into your overall, how we pay employees. The other side is the staff. We've always had a little bit more flexibility with that because they aren't held to that salary schedule. Dr. Bates and I've had many conversations about how to move forward with that. Obviously, when we moved our minimum pay to 15, which was a wonderful thing to do, it compressed some other areas. So I appreciate hearing you guys say that that's a focus, because that definitely is something we need to look at to try to even that out a little bit.
So do we, go ahead.
I was just going to add, there's another community college doing a extensive salary study that we're participating in, and they're going to share the data with that. So that's going to inform some of us in terms of our market comparisons.
Do we do exit surveys on? Okay, so what would you say the number one, and I'm sure you know this. So what's the number one reason, or the top priority there?
So the number one, I just looked at this recently, and again, it's spread over several responses, right? But the number one response actually is advancement opportunity, and then pay is the second.
Yeah. So would you call the advancement opportunity more so there's no ability to move up in the college, or there's no ability to train me to do the job of my superior? So it may be whether I stay at State Fair or go to another college, that opportunity exists.
So I will echo what Darcy said earlier, that surveys tend to bring more questions, right? So I don't know the answer to that. I believe that I think that we don't have a true succession plan, and we're working towards that. That's definitely something, we've been working on it for the last 4 or 5 years. And so I believe that that's part of it. I think, if you guys remember, we talked about the navigator managers. That's a huge step in that direction, because we're creating a step for people to be able to move into and learn management skills. That's where I feel like we have a gap. And of course, I wasn't here more than 5 years ago, but if you guys were here, that there's, Dr. Bates can speak to, we had associate deans, we eliminated some VPs. There was lots of things that happened that they thought were strategic at the time. But what I think happened is we took away some of that ability to teach people to manage, so that we're missing that piece. So I think we're working towards that, but I don't know if that's the whole reason why. Right? That's just my opinion.
Yeah. I think sometimes, just fear. You want to train your, say Patty works under me. I'm feared to train Patty better than I am because I don't want Patty taking my job. Well, that's really not the case. I think sometimes that fear is built in a little bit. And how do we manage the people to understand that's not the fear there? And what is the continuing development and the professional development piece around that component? I think solves some, obviously
I've had some great conversations with Dr. Murders already about this and the fact that we really should make that a goal for all of our supervisors, that they should be identifying their backfill. That's not a bad thing. That is a good thing. It makes, even if I train someone to do my job, I hope that they would step into my role at some point, but even if they go into another role and take another leadership role in the college, we're exporting them talent to be able to use in other areas.
Well, and also like, how much does it take off of your plate, Dr. Murders, or your plate, Rachel, is, hey, now your person working with you can help you do your job, and it's not making your job any less, it's helping. I mean, I think we're missing a little bit of that component. Like, sure, we can pay them great, and I'm all for paying, but what is that development piece? What is that component about making them better? And what really separates us from going to work at Sedalia 200 or a UCM? Like, I think that component is missing a little bit. I got a family of educators. Like, we're going to teach the students. How do we teach our peers?
Well, and one of our third thing, when Darcy mentioned that we did the assess survey, and then we actually did a kind of a homegrown survey last year, which you guys may remember. The number 3 thing on that was professional development. So employees want that. They've said that, and we listened. I mean, that was something that we've already focused on. And I just sent out an email today to reconvene our professional development committees. We had a 3-pronged group last year, again, an offshoot of the HR advisory. And we looked at what are the required trainings that we need to provide. We have a group that looks at just professional development day. How can we make that most valuable to people? And then the third one is ongoing. So, I reached out, and actually I'm jumping in on the athletic group tomorrow to try to get some more people to be involved in that ongoing training, which is where I'm hoping that employees will say, this is what we want. This is the kind of training we want to see, or this is what would help us move up.
So then I guess on the reoccurring cost component of that, what does our budget look like? What is our continuing cost for professional development? What is it for appreciation events? What is it for recognizing? I think that kind of add on to whatever, I mean, I agree with what everybody said here, but where do we add on to that? What does that budget look like? How can we grow that component? Go ahead.
I think you're right. That our professional development is a satisfaction factor. And if folks feel that, and I know from my work career, that as you feel you're developing professionally, it leads to job satisfaction.
Right, and that's kind of my point asking her about.
Which is retention. So I think you're making an excellent point, Justin.
I mean, I ran a retail store for a while, and that was kind of my point to that is, it's not always pay.
Right, absolutely.
And that's the number one thing we want to jump to is, what is the pay? It's not always pay. I've lost a lot of good talent because of development, not pay. Like, I'm sure you've seen that too. I mean, that's just the nature of what we do.
And I will say too, I mean, we heard from employees that we obviously couldn't keep up with the market as far as cost of living, right?
Yeah.
With our increase. So of course, that's a piece of it, but we are constantly looking for ways that we can add value to the employee experience that isn't pay. Because we can't, and we try to tell them, we can't always afford that.
Right.
We're not made of money. So what are ways that we can do that, and make it valuable and make State Fair be a great place to work.
Right.
We have to also consider that PD isn't always just formal training we send people off. And
Right.
It's more in line with what you're saying, sir. It's about the coaching and mentoring that we do as supervisors and the ability to take that time so we can grow people. So if we're always, we have so many things going on, we can't take that time. I can't allow somebody to come up and see a different level and the next one see the next level. So it's not just the budget for the formal. But probably more important, I know it is for me, the only reason I know I've been able to be successful is the coaching, mentoring. It was less about the formal training than it was the informal OJT.
And I think,
I think what we're saying is it's a priority for us that we have hire and retain good staff. And if that means, and we'd like to see a budget plan that addresses compensation and professional development as a priority in putting together the budget for fiscal year 24.
and I think we got to add a third component to that, and that's just my perspective and open for discussion, but to Dr. Murphy's exact point. I go one step over to Keith and I say, Keith, can you take somebody out of your business department and help them? Do you have the staff to cover that front window? Because the students come into your window probably more than anywhere else on campus, right?
We tend to be the information. center.
Exactly. So my point, and I pick on Keith from that aspect because he is that forward, like who is the face a little bit? Where do these students come? Normally it's probably Keith's department or a navigator. So if we take that person and want to coach and train them, to Dr. Herter's point, then who sits at the window? Who's there? You know, because the biggest thing I heard from students through COVID was I'd walk a hall and couldn't find anybody. And I think that goes back to the point Rachel made is a few years ago, we consolidated, we made some things, we thought that was the strategic plan. So I think the third point is, do we have the staff to make that happen? And what do we have to do to make sure that staff's there in place? Because we can't grow and develop if nobody's there to meet the student at the same time. So I don't want to lose that in the side of this either.
Good points.
And it cuts back and forth because you have staff who do their tasks, their missions, their jobs. And you have faculty who actually generate funds for this knowledge. So which one rises that occasion? So you have multiple disciplines going on. And of course, everyone wants job satisfaction. Hell, I want job satisfaction. Doesn't mean I'm always going to get it. But, the door swings both ways, as they say. And some people you're not going to keep here no matter what you offer. And it is a proven modified fact with managerial training that money of it in and of itself doesn't retain employees. But what I heard earlier, someone said they're revamping or reviewing. Rachel, I think the hiring process.
Oh, so yeah, we were looking at where we could streamline it, make it more effective and efficient.
So I would think that would be key start number one, is that if we're headed in the right direction as far as doing the proper background views and so on and so forth, and what that individual is, and not only what they offer to us, but what we would offer to them. Because it is that give and take, but who hasn't been to an interview where they're asked that question, well, what do you expect from us? And there's some that I've had to interview that, so it's multifaceted.
Tim, Rachel's also working on a script for all of our supervisors in the hiring process about selling State Fair Community College. So we're all going to be saying the same thing when we're hiring people, talking about those, those added benefits, the culture here.
And in a way, I'm sorry, but in a way, that's just another form of branding. It's just not the billboard. It's branding. And that's what you're supposed to do is
because we want State Fair to be the preferred employer. We want people to say.
I think that's great. I think that's great.
And not just for employees, but for board members as well. We need that list.
Other things. This is a great discussion. My fear was we'd say there'd be silence here. And no
I'm
one's
gonna chime in. Dr. Bates and I met a few weeks ago and decided what the employee income fund would be directed to this year, and it is to professional development. So it's money that will be given based on employees' donations in this fiscal year, and we generally run that from September, October until May. So that fund ranges every year in different amounts, depending on what employees decide to give. So, I've been as low as 13,000 and as high as 32,000. So you never know where the range might come, but I thought that was a good point to bring forward to let you know that Dr. Bates does believe in this professional development, so that is money that's just.
And that's a direct answer to our survey. I mean, we're able to say that, hey, now we can invest in ourselves, and we know it's important, and we can factor it.
Mary, how did you say that was funded?
And the employees fund is mostly generally the employees that participate through payroll deduction, but it's a contribution that each employee is asked to give, optional. And so we have some employees that choose not to, or they choose to direct their funds in a different way.
But
The employee fund for fiscal 23 is directed to professional development.
So that is their own direct way to help themselves.
Yeah. And they have a choice of another line. This is other. So if they choose to just support Booster Club or arts or, whatever fund, the NPC, whatever it might be, they can choose to go any direction.
Anything else?
I think we've covered the top 5 institutional goals here quite well. We've talked about increasing enrollment, retention, and employee morale. We talked about personal development, so we can improve the quality of existing academic programs, so making sure they have tools and technologies they need. And Richard brought up precision marketing, where we can work and strengthen the communities we're in. So I think, I mean,
Everything also is
Everything.
aligned with our 5 priorities in the strategic plan for this year. So everything, the stars are aligning.
do we normally, like, to bring up what Amy said, do we normally have that discussion annually where we can communicate with the staff and faculty to find out what those needs are and what our goals need to be for the budget? Do we ever have that discussion?
The board having discussion with that.
I know there's
Not-
that
That hasn't been part of that, but that people do provide input into the budget.
Yeah.
And we are a little bit out of whack in that, but our program review, everybody submits program review now where they submit their budget ideas. And then also our strategic planning process. There'll be budget associated with that. We hope to get ahead of the game. So all that feedback then is provided in the July work session. So you would have.
I think this is a little different discussion than we've had the 2 previous years I've been on. Patty would have more historical reference that this is an opportunity where the Board of Trustees are being asked to input during the planning process instead of receiving a report, so that we are being asked to be to share ideas to go into the planning, which is a little different than prior experience.
And good.
Good, yes. I look forward if there's some way the board can be a part of that discussion, so we can become more personal, we can become more upfront with your faculty, with our faculty and staff. I would appreciate that.
I think those institutional reports help us to know, sometimes you might hear from them some things that they need, whether they come right out or you kind of hear it under tone, but I think that helps us to know more about what's happening out there and they can share that.
I hear a theme from one of the board members who always asks, what can the Board of Trustees do for you in those reports? So, that's one way for them to provide direct input. Yeah, that is the idea of the institutional reports. We'll look for other ways, Tom.
I do like your phrase, employer of choice. How's that work? For our students and for our employees, like, why would I go anywhere else? That's what I wanted to say.
Think about that. And the visions, not planting any seeds.
Yeah.
All right, anything else? So I hear some consensus around our employee emphasis of not including compensation, but not limited to compensation, and all of the parts that make State Fair Community College an employer of choice. I hear some also interest in student recruitment and marketing, and some programming around that expansion to meet the needs of the community. Jefferson City, truck driving, maybe some other programs and support services around that. So I kind of summarize big picture. All right, we all heard it, so we're gonna go to the drawing board now, and then we'll have more discussion. It's a continuous process, but we hope to be building to decisions earlier in the year. So by the time we're making decision about compensation, tuition rates, and things like that, we have the stage all set for all of that.
Is that all about today?
Yes.
All righty. All right, the next item on the agenda is Patterson Estate Gift. And I think the executive director for our foundation, Mary Trainer, is going to share with us.
I brought a board in. I'll give you a little background history of the Patterson family first. And then so the board is displayed in our GED hallway, and this whole idea of the GED hallway display actually came from the Patterson family. So Charles and Sarah Patterson, my mom and dad, the Pattersons of Charlie Patterson, his son, and Betty Patterson, his daughter. Sarah Patterson received her GED from State Fair at the age of 68, and Charlie, as a son, said, None of us have children, none of us are married. Someday mom and dad's, someday mom's GED certificate's gonna lay over the state bill and nobody's gonna care. And so that's how this idea developed. So which I thought was always a great idea. If you ever walk through that hallway, there's story after story. And I actually stole the plaque today. Diane always says, you know, I get so many comments for just a story that one person will read. So obviously it means something. We haven't done a history story of a GED graduate for a while. So this kind of brought it to my attention that maybe we need to start reaching out to get that a little more updated. But some great stories. So the Pattersons of Charlie and Sarah, that's how this all started. They created the endowment scholarship that's held in the foundation office that just is for a GED graduate of State Fair. And that's been some really great recipients that have received that. I've had a couple that have went through the nursing program that have great stories behind of why they chose, you know, to come here. So it's just been a fun process of that endowment itself. So in 2020, Charlie Patterson, his son, passed away in April 4th, and Betty passed away in December 1st of 2020 year. Charlie was an instructor for us for many years in our GED program in mathematics for a tutoring system for mathematics, and also was an instructor with us in different areas that failed to the mathematics departments and to our CAD program also. Betty was one of our first students that was part of Plywood U stage of life. And she always spoke very highly of the college. And so of her passing, she left a gift that directed to the Board of Trustees. It is for sole purposes for capital improvement to the college. And so that's what I bring forward to you today, is to make a decision to invest the money, and it would come back to you as a Board of Trustees to decide how to use it for capital improvement each year. We would leave it completely separated. We've had discussion to put it in a FFCC institution money, but because this estate really does state in the true estate wording that it would like to go for capital improvement, I think the best thing is to completely separate it and make the recommendation that it stays in the Patterson estate. So any questions I can answer about the Patterson family? They were very generous in our construction world of this community. And so when Charlie passed away, his estate actually came to the college and this went back into the endowment for the GED program, a portion of his estate. And Betty's entire estate has come forward to the college. I did have discussion with Dr. Anderson and maybe Eaton at the time. We did take $125,000 out of the original estate and help do the naming rights for the Patterson family. So it has done the sole purpose of naming an area for the Pattersons as of now in the Olin-Howard corridor. So it's done what it's needed to do in this year, but as it moves forward on Betty's wishes of the state, it would be put in the Patterson endowment estate, or Patterson endowment for the state, for the Board of Trustees to use for capital improvement.
Discussion? Sorry.
No,
I should
you
have said
go
that.
no, you're fine. So any questions you have for Mary? And so basically that money would be there. If we see a need, then we could use it for a certain amount, and but then whatever's still there is still invested.
Each year, each endowment provides on a distribution. So this would be one of the situations that this money would have to sit for 3 years in the purpose to use out of disbursement. So fiscal 27 would be the first year you would be able to use it from a Board of Trustees situation for capital improvement. So buy out a kick and disperse, and you decide which amount, all of it, whatever. If you choose not to do it, it goes right back into the endowment and then you invest it.
When we were talking about redoing the tutoring center, you know, that would be, this would be the income off the endowment would be the type of thing we could use for the tutoring center, which would have, with the Patterson family's story, I think would have been quite appropriate.
Just remember, if you don't put it in the endowment, then it goes away as it's done. You know, so the endowment is a disbursement every year that would help, you know, do this. So exactly what you're saying, Richard, if you choose to use it for improvement just to the tutoring system, you know, it would be,
Yeah.
something that would go directly back to that area if that's what your choice was that year. Good idea.
All right, so what we're hearing here then is that we need to make a recommendation to gift this then and be invested in the foundation. And then we would then have to decide then what, you know, we would wait. I guess the ideas would be with us until 2027. We know then kind of after that money is ready to be, you know, decided where we want to put it in the next place. So I would entertain a motion then to give the gift to be invested by our foundation.
So moved.
And I will second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you, Mary, for that, and certainly the Patterson family, if you knew them, you know, yeah, their heart was definitely with State Fair, and what a great thing for them to, you know, give back in this way where they can be honored in so many different ways, so. All right, so it looks like Keith, you're up with Bailey and Bloom. Am I saying that correctly, please?
Blum,
Bloom, all right. All right,
about Lake Ozarks campus.
oh, that's easier.
So our lease, in your packet, I included the expiring agreement with, Lake Ozarks. Bailey Blum is the, assuming is the landlord. And then we have been discussing with them, and I have been for the last few months, and we reached an agreement on, and what I'm recommending as addendum to that lease. You'll see in the addendum to the lease, it's a 5-year addendum. The parameters and the rent for the first year will increase from 9,040 to 9,379. That stays the same for 2 years. You get another approximately $400. That stays the same for the remaining 3 years of lease. So fairly, we're able to keep it basically not much of an increase for the 5-year addendum. You can see what occurred in the prior agreement. There were substantially more. I felt like we had a good, we came to a good agreement on that. Just basically would, we just would recommend that we accept this for another 5 years. It's the same amount of space, and give us time to maybe see what we need to do with the space and grow like that. With that, so item 9 on here is recommending, and we'll do discussion in a second, but recommending that you approve the addendum to the lease as presented for Lake Ozarks campus for a period of 5 years. That lease commences December 1 this year, will expire on November 30th of 2027. Further recommend that you authorize myself or President Bates to sign an agreement with corporate grouping, which is the agent for President Blum. So, any discussion on this, would you like to have?
I'll entertain a motion to accept this addendum.
Approved.
Second, second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. On the same sign.
Second, corollary item on this is that we approved the budget in July. You approved the payment for the first 5 months for Lake Ozarks. I actually went and included actually the entire year's amount in the budget. Actually had it slightly more than what you're seeing here. I expected it to go a little bit higher than this. But the juror authority also recommended that you approve on the lease payment for Lake Blum for Lake Ozarks campus for the period December 1, 2023 to June 30, 2023, an aggregate amount of $99,039. This amount has been accounted for in the 23 budget.
To approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, any discussion or questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you.
The next item is, when we find certain things, always have a guest speaker come up that knows more than I do about what's being purchased. But I'm going to have Elizabeth Keyhart-Petrani come up. She's our radiology clinical coordinator. She will tell you what a Pulsera C-arm is.
Oh, everybody knows.
Heard you don't know. As you know, I'm Elizabeth Keyhart-Bertani. I am the clinical coordinator, and our radiologic technology program is requesting to purchase a refurbished 2011 Philips Pulsera C-arm. The C-arm is a C-shaped piece of mobile imaging equipment that is used for fluoroscopy, just like a lifetime X-ray. And it can also be used for general X-rays during surgical pain management, and orthopedic procedures. Some common procedures that it's used in would be pacemakers, joint replacements, gallbladder removal, a wide array of things. The ARRT, which is our national licensing body for radiology, requires multiple competencies associated with the CR machine. Our program's established procedure for achieving clinical competency includes completing a simulation in the lab under my supervision prior to being allowed to complete the procedure on real patients in the hospital setting. However, to achieve this step, we must have equipment that is comparable to what they will operate in the clinical or hospital setting. Every year, we've had graduates who suggest on the exit survey that they would have been more prepared for the workforce if we had a C-arm that aligns with the current industry standards. Through the purchase of this new C-arm, we can adhere to both the ARRT and our steps to clinical competency and create a better learning environment for our students. So thank you for your time, timely consideration for approval and purchase of this equipment for the betterment of the college and the radiologic technology program.
Very good.
Yes, and if we're good listeners, we hear their needs.
I have a question. It's 11 years old, but it's been refurbished. What would most of our area locations that have similar type of equipment? What would the age run on their equipment?
C-arms will run a very long time, actually. You can, the skeleton of it they will last decades. It will depend on how rough the tech is and in procedures. You can replace the components. You can replace the tubes and things like that. The one we have right now currently is broken and it went into service, which is actually older than our director of my department.
So Elizabeth, this one refers to the internal components, so they're up to date.
Everything is up to date.
It's all new.
Yes.
for the-
And
and
brought
then
up.
we compare
Yes.
with
So the
all our
structure.
internals.
The casing is old, the internals have been replaced,
What are we
everything.
gonna do with the old one that doesn't work?
You know, I'm not exactly sure. We've talked about dismantling part of it, and so we can use it as teaching. Tube here and an image intensifier here, you know, they
So
would be,
there's some things still do, it's just not the.
we could use it for teaching. There's nothing scrap. Whenever I was reaching out to get the quotes and get bids, nobody wanted it. I tried and it wasn't worth their time, you know, even scrap metal, nothing, nobody wanted to touch it. It's pretty impressive. I've never,
How large is this?
the new one or the old one?
Either, both.
Ooh, let's see here, I didn't bring my.
Well, just,
Okay, so the new one, would probably, it comes in two pieces. You have a mobile unit that you push, it literally, I'm trying to think, it's about this big, and then it's got literally a big C shape. And the C fits, if I have a patient right here, the C is gonna fit right around this table. And so we could see the patient right there. The second component to it now is you have a mobile viewing station. So when you're in an OR and you have the C right here, the mobile viewing station can be moved around the room so the surgeon or whoever is performing can see that. So it's, they have gotten a little bit smaller. It depends. The unit that we are looking at is a smaller unit because we do not need a super large unit. It would be overkill. You know, we just need something a little bit smaller, but something that's comparable and brand-wise comparable to the hospitals around. I've spoken with my directors at my clinical site. I've spoken with the students. So I try to make sure and stay in touch with.
Yeah, that's
with
what I was
everything
asking,
that's there.
if we're kind of on keel with everyone that's. gonna be-
Philips and GE are the two that most places have. There are a few that have Samsung. The used GEs that year-wise might be compatible or comparable, you're looking at anywhere between $55,000 and $75,000. And that would probably be a
This is a
steal.
good deal.
This is a very good deal, yes.
I'm done.
Yes, we've been, just biting our nails, hoping that it would stay because it is a very good deal.
So moved.
Yeah, I'm thinking the eye.
I guess you do the official
Yeah,
part.
because where does the money come from? So we want to make sure. Yeah. We'll get you.
So our current one is broken. How long does it take to get this one?
Not so much.
What was the question? Sorry.
So our current one's out of use.
Yeah.
How long is it gonna take to get this one?
It's
No,
sitting
I-
there.
they're- yeah, they're ready to roll.
It's already installed. Great. Wait, they're waiting for it to keep waiting. Check that for the preview.
I just want to, if I get the approval, I can call him tonight and we're gonna start, we're actually holding delivery on 2 other units
Okay.
elsewhere until they can possibly.
Get those truck drivers.
They're ready.
And as you saw, she did her due diligence on pricing. So
Very much so.
recommend the board of trustees accept the bid for 1/2011 repurposed Phillips full set of seat on portable live motion everything system for $24,995 from Short Medical. And also the best part, the funding for this is 75% enhancement grant and 25% operating budget.
So moved. All right, thank you. Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
The same sign. And we want to see you do, we want to see that, kind of a demonstration of it. I mean, have a gallbladder out in March, so.
We can manage.
We can, all right.
Just to be clear, you're not going to do a
Yeah,
gallbladder
yeah, no.
surgery.
We're good. Awesome. All right. So next on the agenda is the legislative strategy and show Dr. Bates.
At the last board meeting, I believe Trustee Parker asked if we would bring back a recommendation or have some discussion about legislative strategy. And so I have visited with several of our local legislators, including Representative Pollitt and Senator Crawford, asking them, what is the best way for colleges to reach out to them, to talk to them about our interests? And so we've had some good discussions, but kind of the consensus, well, one of the consensus was do it early and often, stay in touch, don't just show up when you're wanting something. That's establish a relationship. And they encouraged us to do something prior to the legislative session start, spring if possible. But if we couldn't do that, then on Fridays or something like that after the session starts, we're back in town. So we land based on that discussion. I also talked with other presidents and chancellors and with our lobbying team with Ncca. And based on all of that information, we're recommending having a series of sessions with our legislators. We're not going to do a breakfast. It'll be just a meet and greet. We'll have an agenda, a legislative agenda. We'll feature some success stories and talk about the impact of investment education and other things that we decide that we're going to talk about. We would like to have those in probably in November after the election, November, December. And we'd like to do one here, but we'd like to do one at each of our extended campuses so that we can reach all of our service region. We have invited folks from the entire region, but usually it's the local legislators that participate. So we hope to expand our advocacy to all of our extended campuses with that. Our idea also is for each session, we have one trustee that is the kind of lead trustee for that session, the host or hostess for that session. And just so we make sure that we have at least one trustee at every session, but that person kind of be the point person for that and, kind of lead the session. So that's our recommendation. And then from there, once the session starts, we'll have some regular visits. I'd like to engage the trustees with that. So it's not a president show. It's a team. I think you all are probably very effective, if not more effective advocates for our institution or college than our college employees are. You're elected officials just like our representatives. You're representing the constituencies and so we need to utilize that. So we'll be working on that. Finally, so Richard and Patty and I presented to MCCA leadership group about advocacy. And I thought it was a really good, there was about 20 up and coming leaders from every MCCA institution in the state. And we have this really nice, we shared this document that's our kind of advocacy document that we've used. It's really kind of a utility document that Brad has taken, and he kind of customizes it to whatever advocacy group that we're working with. It's legislators, he gives the legislators. If it's business and industry, it gives the business and industry focus on that. People were really impressed with this. And so kudos to Brad and his team. But I've been talking to other presidents about what they do for advocacy and have some ideas. I've been talking to Brad. So what I'd like to do at an upcoming meeting is have a discussion with you all about our advocacy agenda. What are the most important things that we have the MCCA legislative agenda, so that'll be a key part of it. But what are the other things that we need to build around? For instance, we've talked a lot today, and it's one of our strategic priorities about employees. And well, our ability to increase our compensation for employees, to support employees in many ways, add programs, add staffing, is dependent on funding. And so increases to our core funding can result in employees. So maybe that's part of our advocacy there. We talk about our challenges with employees and how efficient we are, but how an investment in the state budget and State Fair Community College can pay off in helping us to be better. So that's just an example. I think Richard maybe mentioned that previously, Richard, so I stole your example. So that's our recommendation. Any comments or discussion? Jolynn is not feeling well today. She would be here, but she will be setting up these meetings and putting together the agenda, and she'll be the key point person in putting that.
Yeah, I think I'm on board for that strategy of the meetings. I might add maybe something to think about. If we're going to meet with legislators in the afternoon for an hour or hour and a half, maybe after that, have about half-hour break and then maybe invite some community leaders in to where we might also do some community listening, listening at the same time, same date. I think I'd be open to that as a possibility as well.
I think that'd be good. Yeah. Have we, and this might be way outside the box, do you know, have we ever had a situation where we're trying to learn from them, not by the setting office holders, but by those who have held that position? We have several ex-reps in this community. I didn't know if that would be kind of a sounding board. When you were in office, what did you want? What's your trigger? Because there has to be some similarities between, even though they were 10, 12 years ago. I mean, I'm sure Matt Boatwright can tell you everything he ever remembered or happened to him. But using them as kind of a tool to learn from.
Yep, good idea.
Like that.
There's some great ideas rolling around here. All right. Anything else?
All right, sounds like a good plan going forward. I think just being their friend is so important, and finding out how we can help them. It isn't always about having to ask them, we want, what do they need in the way of support as well. So I have to remember that focus. All right, so then next on the agenda was to discuss construction management. Dr. Bates?
Well, so we do have a number of construction projects that are in various stages of development. but I wanted to talk to the board and get some recommendations around how we would structure that construction project. And since I'm new to the president's position, I've never led, those kind of construction projects from the president's perspective. So, I had a lot of conversations and tried to learn about those options. And I've learned that there is a new option in how we can structure that that's been allowed legislatively, and that's the construction manager at risk. So in the past, we've used a construction management option. We've used a general contractor option. There's now this construction management at risk option. And so I thought it'd be worthwhile for us to have a discussion about that. I asked our attorney, Lisa Burns with the Ncca, to provide us a legal explanation with some benefits and challenges on each of the methods. And I've provided that to you, and I'm sure you've had time to review that. And so in addition to the general contractor and the construction management, traditional construction management, where the construction management risk is the design build options, so really just kind of 4 options. But Keith and Justin and I have also had a lot of discussion about this, and Justin has his own experiences, and he has also had some discussion with the architects on their perspective on that. So I'd like to invite Justin to share his perspective and the information from the architects. Then we'll have a discussion about it. What we would like is a recommendation for our CAP project, because as we build the bids for that project, this would influence how we build those bids. So that's the timeliness part of this discussion. And then, later we'll be doing the same thing with the residence hall should we choose to go down that road. Justin?
So the traditional design bid build was what mostly we have done. Hector Building we did under a construction manager program. But the construction manager at risk really differs a lot. It's really kind of a hybrid of both. So I asked our architect just to throw some quick notes that I can share with you guys. So it's still kind of under that same methodology of a design bid build, but the process works where we will solicit if the construction manager is not an employee of the college, then we would have to go out through an RFP process and ask for actually an RFQ process. We would ask for qualifications. Through that qualification process, we're not asking for their fees and monetary proposals. We're just asking about them, their company, their setup. We would review those. Typically, you take 2 to 5 of those and you bring them and you ask them to actually submit a proposal. We would review those proposals, and when we did this for the architects back in 2015, it was a culmination of stakeholders within the college and on the board as well. We kind of did I would assume we would probably do a similar situation if we went this route, so that everybody's got some input in that process. Once you do that and they've made their proposals, you can go through in the proposals. They can have their fee structures and that sort of thing of how we would pay them for their service. And then that allows us to negotiate, because at that point, then they become it's a professional service like an architect, a land surveyor, that sort of thing. So fall under those state statutes, and allows us to negotiate. It even allows us to negotiate with them. If it's not successful, we can go to one of the other ones that have submitted a proposal and then start negotiations. So there is another step in there besides just getting the project together and pushing the bid out and getting a general contractor. So we have another step. We have a pre-step basically. Once we did that, though, we could potentially keep them just like we kept staff design on and re-engage and renew those contracts as long as that relationship is successful in consecutive projects. What they do and the value that they bring is they are in the construction industry. Usually they are some type of general contractor or have been a general contractor. Sometimes it's a branch of a general contractor. And they can come to the design table with the architect before we start soliciting bids for the subcontractors. Okay, so the general contractor is going out when he's doing a bid service for us. They're getting bids from multiple subcontractors. They're putting those bids together to give us the number, right? That process is working the same way, except instead of having a general out there, we've got our guy or our gal that is helping solicit those bids. So we put those bids out for the subcontractors, and since it's at risk, that contract construction manager, actually, their company is allowed to solicit to input bids as well. So they have to go through the same process, so they can put their bid in the hat. So maybe they self-perform concrete, what a lot of generals and construction managers would do. So they can solicit a bid as well as subcontractors solicit bids. So the similarity is that we're still soliciting bids for the subcontractors. It's just the process in which we receive them. The subs will then, through a construction manager, the risk is carried by the construction manager at risk. So they're really the subs are contracted to that construction manager, not directly to us. Whereas a construction management, the traditional model, those subcontractors are independently contracted to us. It's a little more difficult when you have issues, they're running on an independent schedule. You have a construction manager that's managing it all, but the risk is more on us at that point because we're carrying all those contracts, which is that's actually how we built the Ncca building. So there was some challenges with that. There's advantages to it, there's challenges to it. So that's the big difference, notation wise. Like I said, a lot of times what you'll say, the value that they bring is we can engineer, we can have the engineers and architects get perspective straight from guys that are working in the field, that are ordering stuff in the field right now, especially in today's climate, which is what the architect was extremely noting. The things that we have trouble getting are not the things that we had trouble getting 2 years ago. It's just different. And the guys and gals that are doing these projects right now know that those are, the architects and engineers are running a little bit behind, right? Because they're using that data from projects that they're in. So there's some advantages there. A lot of times that cost savings is what you're gonna spend in the proposal to pay for their services.
So that's the idea with this, is that the savings that you would get from hiring them would pay for their contract. An example of that is, and I'm not an expert, but this is what I hear when building projects. The architects design it one way, and then the people building are saying, why in the world would they design it like that and do it like that? If they would have done it like this, we could save $100,000 or, whatever. So before you go out to bids in the construction management at risk, that construction management firm's looking at the plans and saying, hey, I think you over-designed this here. You don't really need this heavy of steel in this area. You could cut it down and save our client money. And so they make that revision before they send out the bids.
And then we're not having to do it in the field and causing a change order, which could substantially cost more after in the traditional process. The other thing the architect wanted to note was that even though you've got that longer selection process tied in there, also to note that the subcontractors are still low bidders, just like they would be in a general contract. The difference is that general is not the low bidder because we're basing them on they're the construction manager, we're basing it on a fee schedule, not on a low bid. So.
Any questions?
One of the concerns is that Justice Department of Maintenance is rather thin. When we take on a major capital project, are we stretching the resources
So
that we have?
What we've done is we've contractually expanded our department as we need through these projects. So with the Olin Howard building, we brought in Howlett Construction Services to work as a project manager alongside me, so that between the two of us, we become the owner's rep at the meetings for you guys, so that we're handling all the things. And we just do that through our operating, it's through the construction budget, but it's not part of the general services package. Because of all the other projects we've got going on internally, we've brought in out of our operating budget another second project manager who's been focusing on all our little stuff. So the testing center renovations downstairs, the kitchen remodel, he's kind of getting all those little pieces and projects ready to go. It's also And we're watching that as we get ready for potentially the CAP building, the renovations of the fielding building, potentially the residence hall, and figuring out how we need to scale that.
Do
So-
any of these options help us manage better?
It would prevent us from adding in an additional
Which one, the
project
construction
manager.
management?
So if you did a construction manager at risk, it prevents us from having to probably hire an additional project manager to help oversee that, because then that person fills that role. So
Is that the recommendation? From the department?
I'm indifferent. I would not recommend a traditional construction manager approach. I would suggest we either do the traditional design bid build. That'll get us out to construction faster, but I do like the construction manager at risk option that's just become available. We do have a little paper, we have a little policy change that we have to get to you guys to adjust our policy just a little bit so we match the state statute a little bit better since that changed.
How many people would bid to do that job?
I'm sorry. say
How many people would submit to be that guy? Like,
The construction manager.
at risk?
I would anticipate that we would see just as many as we would in a general. So anywhere from 3 to 6.
Same companies that we normally get, or do you think this gives us a
It would be
different area?
probably some of them, but not all of them, because some of them don't operate in that model.
Right.
Because it's a totally different.
Right.
We do have several local and regional companies that provide that service. I would say we would probably see some proposals or qualification. They wouldn't be proposed, but at least the qualification section, we'd see some probably from Kansas City, St. Louis, Springfield area that provide those kind of services. And that's, so if you talk to any of the other K-12 schools, a lot of them have started into some of these construction manager at risk. UCM actually did a similar project with their complex that they built by the football stadium with the pizza, the retail and stuff. That was all done under a construction manager type program. Warrensburg, the high school there, their additions to multiple buildings in their athletic complex, they did all of that through a construction manager at risk program too.
We didn't have a motion and second on that line, but I think we probably need that if there's a recommendation from this group.
So you are indifferent? I guess I want to know your deeper thoughts.
So my deeper thought is, I think we'll spend the money either way. Just a matter of how we spend it. There's some quality things that come out of the construction manager at risk process. It will take us a little more time. It'll take us a couple more months before we can break ground on that, of what we've probably anticipated. But we could potentially make that up too, So like I said, it's kind of in my opinion, it's a 50-50 because there's work on both sides and there's savings on both sides. So, and I think either way, in being part of the CAP building, and that's the biggest project I've done for you guys, but in the other projects that I've done for other companies, it was very successful in the traditional, design bid format. I've done some other buildings with, they weren't really construction manager at risk, but they were similar programs because they were non-profit companies. So they didn't have to send it out to bid. So we did go through kind of some RFP and RFQ processes with contractors and selected a couple, and they built multiple buildings and renovations for us. And those relationships are nice because then they understand our needs a little bit more, and we could repeat that without having to have new meetings and taking that time to learn each other. So, for instance, Prost Builders is the one that's building the Olin Howard building, but we've got Westport Construction that's doing the project for the kitchen. So there's relearning of, how we operate internally, how we communicate with each other with each of those projects. And that's lessened with the construction.
Would this be something like we're just signing on and saying, okay, now for X number of years, we want to do it this way? Is that where we're headed?
You can, it's all depending on, that would be part of the, whatever contract we would want to come up with them. So we would ask for qualifications. So those interested in working with us would submit their qualifications to us. We would review those. we would decide of those, hey, these guys look good, we want proposals, maybe we want proposals from all of them, right, just to have a good comparison. But if we had 20 of them, we don't do 20 proposals, right?
Right.
So we'd have to have some qualifying things to say we want proposals back, and then from there, it's a negotiation, so.
But we're not tying ourselves to a company for multiple projects.
If
Maybe
we
it's
could go
one
project by project, we want, yes.
Right, but it's not like we're.
That would be part of the
Other option.
negotiation.
So just when you say if you go project by project, saying risk manager here, in-house here, is that what?
Yeah, you could switch back and forth depending on the project,
So we
yeah.
really don't have to obligate ourselves to anything, we just would have to review with recommendations like we've had before on other topics.
Correct, other than like, if you would like us to break away from the general design bid build process and get requests for qualifications, then we kind of want to know that so we can get that process started, I guess, is what we're kind of asking.
I think my concern is that I think you've indicated the dollars, well, dollar neutral. What works best for the college in terms of allocating the resources we have. And I just as soon get a recommendation for one option and act on that option is for us to say, this is what we want to do. Figure it out as you know, you're in position.
You're the experts.
Yeah, you're the experts. You know, you can figure out.
We wanted to make sure that you had some input into how.
What's best, but there's pluses and minuses, and given our situation, I just soon receive a recommendation that this is how we ought to proceed.
And I would agree with Richard, because that's kind of where I'm at. If we obligate ourselves to this, what about this? So in turn, if we're obligating ourselves to one entity, like you're saying, we're going to look to the people that do know this, that do this. I don't do this, so I need some assistance so far as guidance on what would be the proper decision.
Whichever one we would approach, then we would go through that process and you all would select who that firm would be. And
So you wouldn't really need a motion then to go with this. It would be just you're getting a feel from the board how you need to proceed.
When you say you like the design bid build or the construction manager at risk, there are pluses and minuses each way. What works best for us institutionally? Let's do that.
Okay.
Rather than.
No, I was gonna make sure you all had, I was gonna call on Tom and you to see what you want.
Yeah, I mean, to their point, like, we need to, Justin, you tell us what helps you, like, if this, I'm not, like, we can all go put our input, like, but what makes it work, what makes it go? But I say if we go to this contract manager risk, we probably need to modify that policy before approving anything from that aspect too. So I want to make sure we don't get the cart before the horse. And I think Patty, you just brought that up a little bit there too. But so I think if you're thinking that way, you go back and you do your research and you're like, I think this is the best fit for us. I think at that time we need a recommendation to modify that policy so you can act on that.
Yeah.
No, because you're not looking for a decision at the moment for a specific.
We wanted to discuss it with you to feel if there was a
discussion.
Yeah. So.
And if there was hard feelings one way or another, then or if there was tons more questions that we needed to answer for you, then we would go do more research, but.
What do you feel about the discussion we've had so far regarding?
No, I think it's great input. I think what we'll do is we'll call a couple of our professionals real quick and our current architect can send out the RFQ. And there's no cost to us really for that. We can get that out there and start taking a look at things, that would be good. In my mind, the logical first step that we do, because that doesn't commit us to doing it. That just says, hey, we're looking for your qualifications and
we'll just say
we're looking at this option.
Yeah.
And at the same time, we can still continue on with some of the design stuff that we're doing. And then if they come on, and we decide to go that route, we bring them on board, we'll get them on design folks as quick as we can.
Well, it's good discussion, and the other benefit is when we come with a recommendation, now you have some background knowledge to so
Thank you.
I'm learning along.
Okay, so Dr. Bates, you're ready for a presentation.
I'm going to give a fast report if I can, but first of all, I want to start with good news. And on Thursday this week, Thursday is Census Day.
Monday night.
Monday night was Census Night. This is Thursday. Monday night was census. That's the date in higher education where you lock your enrollment and your iPads report and everything else is built off of that census enrollment report. So as of Monday night, our census was for fall semester 3,725 students. But more importantly, credit hours, we had 3,499 credit hours. 35,499. I thought that's what I said, but that's what I wrote. But and that's compared to 35,464 credit hours. The bottom line is we're up. We're up in credit hours, and I think it's the first time since 2016 that we're up in credit hours. And this didn't happen by accident. This happened by an incredible amount of work by everybody at the institution, a focus at the institution, all hands on deck. So as you study enrollment theory and recruitment, there's an idea around a enrollment funnel. And you start off with prospects and admits and enrolled. So you can start off with a big number, there's a funnel down. So to celebrate the successful implementation of our admissions funnel, staff doesn't know this, but we're going to have funnel cakes for everybody on campus in October. And we're also going to have for students as well. So come by for a funnel cake October 5th, 11 to 1. So it's great news, and I do want to recognize all the faculty and staff that's involved in that.
Are you making the funnel cakes?
We contracted for that.
I think it'd be fun to have him make it. Don't you?
Well, that would be a risk manager.
Moving along. What day was that?
Yeah, I'll do two.
All right. A couple of other things that are happening in October. There is a regional group of county commissioners, and they are meeting in Sedalia and asked to meet at our campus. And that meeting is on October 13th. And so at 9:30, we're going to give a presentation to them about the economic development, impact on economic development by State Fair Community College. All of our areas are going to be involved with making presentations. Then they're going to go to tour our new OIC Center and the Howard Center. And then they're going to end with a lunch cooked by the Missouri Cattlemen, and they'll have their meeting. So that'll be there's 60 to 80 county commissioners from the region on campus. So I wanted to invite any of you to come if you'd like to come to that. 9:30. It's 9:30 to 1. Our part's 9:30 to 11 or so.
That was the 13th.
The 13th in Thompson Conference Center. Also, though, on October 13th is the huge celebration in Boonville for the Kawasaki plant grand opening. And we have a number of staff going there. I was registered to go there, but I think I'm going to have to be here. I might be able to go to do both. But if there is a board member who would like to go and serve in my place at the dinner at the Kawasaki celebration at noon, October 13th, just let me know after this and we'll get you set up. Dean Rogg and some others are going to be there. So we're kind of splitting our staff. We got two kind of big things going on, and some of involving the same people. Also that night is the Jefferson City School Foundation banquet. And Mr. Parker is joining Dr. Murders and myself and our admissions recruiter from that area to go to that foundation event. So we're putting on the miles on October 13th. I put at your desk some flyers for the Booster Club and for our music and fine arts program. Those meetings have gone out to patrons in our community. And you probably have received that in your mail, but I just want to call attention to that opportunity. Another thing that's a date that's not on the calendar in the board agenda. On October 22nd is the college open house. That's a Saturday, and that's from 10 to 4. Actually, registration starts at 9. At 10 o'clock, there's a welcome. And so I'll be doing a welcome, and if you are there, if you would like to be there, I introduce you at that event as well. But that's an all hands on deck event, showing off our campus to potential students and other stakeholders in our community. There'll be food trucks there for lunch, and it'll be a festive day. Finally, November, again, we've talked about this before, but November 29th to December 1st is the Ncca annual convention. We've received from Tom, Richard, and Patty that they were going to go. But if you are going to go to that, we need to be making your reservations as soon as possible. I believe the program is Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday this year. It's usually at the end of the week, it's been moved up a day. And there's an awards banquet on Wednesday night, and we do have some local people being honored at that banquet on Wednesday night.
And typically for trustees, Wednesday, there isn't anything on Tuesday. I know when Ron Winiger was on the board, he always, because of his involvement, well, maybe that was ACCT, but
I will double check.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a trustees meeting on Tuesday. There'll be sessions all day Wednesday and in the morning Thursday.
Where's this being held?
It's in St. Louis.
Yeah. It's going to be at the Union. But the Drury by Union Station. At Union Station.
Let's see, last year,
We went to
I went
Branson.
to Branson, and I was only able to break down for the ceremony and for the dinner. Is that a viable option this time?
Yes.
What were the dates on that again?
November 29th to December 1st, but I think the main program is the 30th and the 1st.
and then December 1st,
There's meetings like the presidents are meeting, the CAOs are meeting.
December, do we have Jingle on the Green this year?
Yes, I think.
So that night would
The
be.
ACCA turn, meeting.
So we'll be back in time for that. If you missed it, Justin, it's still time to get in. So.
Would you mind sending all your dates and everything again
I will.
in your report?
Yep.
Oh, is that okay?
No, and some of them, not the.
All the funnel cake.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
through final pictures.
That's my report.
So then let us know how we as a board can be involved. And I realize that some minutes during the day, you know.
Making
that
plum
sort of
cakes,
thing.
is that what you're talking about?
I am, you know, really, I've never gotten to do that.
Or even the open house, like if
Yeah,
there's any
open
help or
house.
assistance needed on that.
Yeah,
Dr. Murders, I think, is going to be helping to organize
yes,
that.
you've heard it.
So if
He's
there's
ready to
something
hear.
the board members
Put
can
us
do.
to work.
Absolutely.
Okay, Keith, a financial report.
We will keep this simple and short because we talked a lot about this. On the financial report, there's really, this early in the year, there's really one number that I'm kind of paying attention to, and that's the first one. It says tuition and fees. Once the fall semester enrollment is complete, I'd like to see that number around 49% of the budget. That gives me an idea. That's typically where we need to be if the rest of the year's criminal budget. We may be slightly, we may be just a smidge under that because of the mix, I showed you before, but that, other than that, it's so early, you know, the first 2 to 3 months of the year, really the first 4 months are very heavy expense wise, and then we hit revenue coming after that. So, so right now, the one I really point out for much as that top number, and we're through, 2 months, about 46. I can tell you right now, we're getting pretty close to 49%, which is kind of my magic number. We're getting close to it. So that's really all I wanted to say about that, since we've had a good discussion on financials today.
Well done, Keith.
Thank you.
His 2 minutes were shorter this time.
All right, board discussion.
Out of Bethany's request, us coming up there, should we set up a time to where maybe the board can take a day trip or two and we can pop in at every campus? I think that'd be extremely beneficial for us.
I don't know if we can do it in one day.
Maybe that'd be one day. There's the mileage.
You kept us running and rolling on it.
Over a
But
course
you're
of
right.
so many times.
Hey,
I think
The day we did the advocacy meeting in Jefferson City, we went to the Lake of the Ozarks. We met with our campus folks there, and then with the Lake of the Ozarks Economic Development group met, who were quite excited to hear about plans to expand commercial driving to the Lake of the Ozarks. And on our way back, we did a pop in at our Eldon campus and visited, and even got to go into one of the classes. We're invited to become involved in one of the class sessions.
We'll look for options, Tom, and the legislative advocacy events are one option that people will get to go on.
Anything else? I just want to say a thank you to Lisa. I appreciate those invites. You just put it on my calendar, and sometimes I see it 5 times because I put it on and then I did something. And then she sends it, but I just go ahead and say yes. And surely when I see it 5 times coming up, maybe y'all remember, but appreciate those. So be sure and check on, some of those dates, make sure they're there. But thank you, Lisa, for all that you're doing. We appreciate it.
Couple things. Kudos Dr. Bates and his team. I've seen you guys out in the community quite a bit. I know you guys went to the community meeting that Fidelity 200 had on Monday night. You guys were there and you made the paper with some of your comments. So
I should be careful.
but Dr. Murders and team, I see you guys out and about, and I think that's very vital for where we're at as a community. I'll throw a plug out for athletics, and Mary back there, mouse races Saturday night. So what's the name of your mouse? Victor.
Rowdy Rodent is gonna win.
Okay, is that yours? So.
Mighty Gale.
Just gotta make sure it makes the paper. So the betting lines,
Saturday.
Yeah.
Great name. Yeah, well, thank you, Sky. We're seeing good things. We appreciate that you can get that information out to the readers and to the communities. And so, thank you.
You guys do have that Boy Scout thing this weekend too.
That's right.
Yeah.
And Fidelity Showcase next week.
Yep. So anyway, just wanted to throw those out. So I do appreciate you and your team and the community support.
I guess the only thing is, don't forget to put on your calendars, the inauguration for our president. So there's a committee that's been meeting. We meet again on Tuesday, to, make sure that we're, crossing the T's and dotting the I's on that. So put that on your calendar for sure.
Oh, so we have the open house that Saturday and then your inauguration on Sunday. Okay.
Mhm.
I just put that together. Close the meeting here.
All right.
So what's that?
So you're not legal yet?
Yeah.
You did a lot of work for no reason.
Exactly, yeah. All right. Anything else? That's all. All right. So we'll request to go into closed session for A, lease purchase and sale of real estate pursuant to RSMO section 610.0212, and then hiring, firing, disciplining, or promotion of personnel pursuant to RSMO section 610.0213. And we'll ask, besides the crew that's sitting here at the tables, to ask Dr. Murders and Keith to stay.
So moved.
Second.
You took to it.
Yeah,
I'm slowing down, guys.
I already had Tom right there.
Amy? Yes.
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 And.
Yes. All right, so if you need